Hi everybody. So today I'm going to make a scarecrow sign using this 7-inch wood round, and I'm going to use the sign in a wreath that I'm going to make another video for soon. So I painted it white, and then I drew the face on it for the scarecrow that I'm going to paint in with some paint pens. Okay, so then I'm going to make a hat for it that I will place at the top, and it's going to cover the hair that I'm going to make. And so how I did this was I used some jute string to make some bundles of the hair that I'm going to put at the top. And I started off with making a long strand bundle that measures out to be about 22 inches, and I used about 8 to 10 strands, and then I centered it. I tied it off in the middle and centered it to hold the strands together. And so then I made a second bundle, and this one is about 18 inches long, and I believe I put a few more strands of jute into that bundle, so it's a little bit thicker. And so then I made a third one, and that one's about 14 inches, and then the last one is about 10 inches long. And so I wanted the different lengths of them, and then I gathered them in the middle, and I'm going to put them up at the top and glue them for the hair. And so I thought like the different lengths would look cute, with, you know, make it look a little bit more scraggly like a scarecrow's hair. So I just glue this at the top, and then I cut out from some old blue jeans a hat. And so how I did this was I just, you know, cut it into the shape of a hat, and you can cut it any shape hat that you like. And then I'm going to place it at the top over the strands of the hair so that it covers where I'm going to glue it down. And then that way it'll hide the hair, you know, at the top. So now I'm going to decorate the hat by sewing it together. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this embroidery thread it's like a burnt orange, and I'm going to stitch a blanket stitch around the whole hat. And it doesn't really matter if your, you know, stitches are perfect or if your hat shape different, you know, because it's a scarecrow, and scarecrows are just stitched together with love. Okay, so I just like the look of, you know, the farmhouse look. Okay, so I'm gonna cut now a long strand of the embroidery thread, and I'm using all 6 strands so that, you know, I get that thicker stitch and it looks, you know, more homemade. So I'm just going to cut a fairly long strand here and then straighten out my tip so that I can thread my needle. And you can use a needle threader if you need to, because there's a lot of strands. And so then I'll cut it at a long length, and then I will tie a knot on the end. tail. Okay, and so how to make the stitch, I'm just going into the corner, just right at the top of the corner, and I'm going to pull my thread all the way through, and then I'm going to go at a slant but a little bit close to like a 1/4 of an inch away, and then when I get to there I'm going to pull my needle. I'm going to keep that loop in the back and then slide my needle through that loop and then pull so that it starts it off the stitch, and then I do that again, going a little bit further down, making them even, and then pulling it through that back loop before I pull the thread all the way through. And then you'll just repeat this process, going through the back loop and then pulling it all the way. And it's fairly simple to do. I mean, you will have to watch for the thread, because embroidery thread can get twisted sometimes, especially when you're working with a long strand of thread. And so that's what I'll do. I'll just keep going, and I'll just go down to the end, and I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm going to show you what I did here because I did it a little bit different once you get to the bottom. And so I'll put that one aside, and you'll see I've already got one made and stitched, and I just went all the way around, but then when I got to the corner here, I only did part of it, and the reason is because I'm going to put it on, when I put my wood round on it, you can see some of it hangs off on each side. So I wanted it to fit, and in order to do that, when I, so that way it'll hide the strands. When I got to the bottom corner, I stitched the blanket stitch through both layers up to the wood round, and then I stitched the blanket stitch to the front part with just that single layer, and then when I got to the other side I stitched through both layers. And then I didn't do the back because the back is not going to show, so now I'm going to do the front, and go ahead and paint the face. So I'm using a orange paint pen that I'm going to color in the nose. And so what I did is I just drew a simple triangle shaped nose, and then I'm just going to go in and fill it in with orange. Straighten my lines. Okay, and so then I'll take the black marker and paint pen, and then start filling in the rest of it. So I'm not a very good drawer, but I'm just sticking to the basic shapes just to draw on, and I'm just going to color in the eyes. And you can use a different color if you want a different color eyes. I'm just going to color it in, trying to keep that little spark of white in the eye, just so it appears to be like a little twinkle. And then I'll go and do the same to the other side. coloring it in. And these pens are really cool when you want to be able to draw on a face or paint thinner lines. Then I'll just go in and put some eyelashes on my Scarecrow. I'm just gonna straighten out some of this where to make the lines a little bit more even. Okay, so now I'll draw on the mouth. And I'll add like some little stitches to the mouth. Cute. Okay, so now we can start gluing on our strands of jute here. And I'm going to start with the longest strand. And then I'll go to the second longest and so forth all the way up to the shortest. So I'm just going to cut off where I tied the bundle together first. And then I'll measure to see where I want it. Looks good and even. So then I'll just take my glue gun and start to glue this down. I'm just going to do like a thin line of glue for each strand so that it's not too bulky once everything is together. And I'm just going to center at the top and make sure I've got it all centered in the middle. And then there's a piece here that I need to re-glue. It's not quite sticking down. So put some more glue right there. And then it's a good idea to use a silicone finger protector so that you don't burn yourself. This is actually a thimble that I use for sewing. So now I'll just go on and I'll start putting them all, gluing them all down. Okay, so now I've got to my last set of strands. This one, instead of going below the next one, I'm going to glue this one on top in the center like this. So I'm just going to measure it and make sure I've got it even, and then I'm going to put a good amount of glue right here to make sure this top piece stays. Okay. So now I'm going to use some cotton batting or some fiberfill if you have that on hand. And I'm going to stuff the top of the hat, because this part right here is going to be bulky when it goes over the top part of the hair, so I want to even it out by stuffing it at the top. And it's also going to give it some body and some structure. So you can see here where when I place it on top of the head, you'll see how it just makes it a little bit more even and all one piece. So I have some buttons right here, and I'm gonna sew them, I think, to each end of the hat like this. And I'm just gonna use the same embroidery thread that I used before to attach them. Okay, so I was just finishing off my last button, and so now I want to put a little bit of glue underneath my buttons just to give it some security. I want to make sure that even if the thread should come off, that the glue would stay, the button would stay on. Okay, so I'm going to do that to both buttons. And I'm just putting like just a little bit, a couple little dabs under it. I'm not, I don't want to put too much and it seep out. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to just fold it in half, and I'm going to find the center so that I can center it to the top of the scarecrow's head. And I'll just insert it through. And just going to straighten it up a bit. Make sure everything's in there. And then now I'll be able to glue it all down. Just adjust the hair out of the way if you need to. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to put a lot of glue. I want to make sure that it's secure under each side and in the middle. So I'm just putting a generous amount. Now just pull it down a little bit so I can make sure it comes down far enough and covers everything. Okay, so now I'm going to glue on this bow that I made. I just put a big red button and I sewed it with some more of the embroidery floss. And so I'll just put a bunch of glue on the back and just put it in place on the hat. And you can put a flower here if you would like instead. I just went with the bow. I like the black and white checkered ribbon. And just press it down and secure it in place. And then fluff up my bow a little bit. Okay, and there's a little bit of loose flap here, so I'm gonna glue that some more underneath there. There we go. Make sure it's all pressed down. Okay, so now I'm gonna flip it over. Straighten my bow. So I'll flip it over now, and I'm gonna glue the back down. And you just want to do the same thing that you did to the front. Just put a bunch of glue in there and press it down. Since nobody can see the back, it's just, you just want to make sure it's secure. Okay, I just want to show you how I'm going to finish embellishing this. I did this off camera, but I did some orange around the edge, and it's a little bit too bright for me, so I'm going to go over it with this antique wax and, to tone it down a little bit. So I'm just going to dab a little bit. I didn't shake it. I'm just going to take a little bit and put it on a paper towel. Dab it. Dab it off again. Just gonna just want to tone down the harshness of the orange. I'm not putting very much at all, just enough to cover a little bit of the orange. Make it look more like a brownish orange. It's okay if you get a little bit on the face, because it kind of gives it a little bit of an antique look to it. It's better. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to do is I want to give it a little bit of rosy cheeks. So I took out some blush that I had, and I'm just going to rub it on my finger. Just kind of go right in here with the cheeks. Just giving a little bit of subtle blushy rosy cheek. Okay. And then just going to take my marker, my paint pen. I'm going to use the brown. I'm just going to do some little tiny freckles. So, oh, that's much better. Okay, and so here it is, all ready to put on my wreath. And I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to be making this wreath, Scarecrow wreath, coming up in my next tutorial. So tune in, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that you won't miss it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Here's a couple of more of my videos for you to check out.